Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Season 2 premiere of BarrelUp Podcast with your host, John Carlos, and my boy, Darrell Guru, co-host of the show. First and foremost, we want to thank everybody who has stuck with us throughout our mini hiatus of leaving the show for about a month and a half. Reasons being because BarrelUp Baseball, the training aspect of the business started, and I was busy throughout the summer training kids and on the field, as you would say. These BarrelUp Baseball training services still exist in the winter. I've gotten many inquiries. If you do want to train or have a kid that does want to train, I'll leave my Instagram information and all my information so that you can contact me. But without further ado, we want to welcome you guys to Season 2, and we're going to talk about the underdogs. We're going to dedicate this show mostly to the underdogs of baseball, the champions of baseball, the Washington Nationals. My brother, what do you think about their performance throughout the season and nonetheless this spectacular World Series that they just came and won?
Started off slow.
Started off real slow.
And they surprised the whole world, basically. They've proven they can contend.
They can definitely contend. This is a team that hadn't won the World Series even before they were the Nationals. They won, the last time they won, they were the Montreal Expos. And they shut a lot of mouths up. A lot of people did not see this team, like myself, I have to say myself, I did not see this team contending far or beating such a team like the one that the Dodgers, the one that they just beat before beating the Astros. My favorites were the Dodgers, I'm not gonna lie. I had all my hopes on Kershaw and his performance, even though in past years he has not performed in the postseason. I thought they were a team that had every key component to win the World Series, even though they've been there in the last 5 years like 3 times. That did not play out. My other favorite team was the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros, unfortunately, they cannot get it done this year, but I have to congratulate them as well on their journey because they did go as far as they needed to. They just didn't seal the deal. But going back to the Nationals and their slow start, if we remember their record in May was atrocious. They were a team of 11 wins and 19 losses. They seemed like a team that was going down the wrong path, and they still had their hopes up. What can you tell me about their slow start and how they picked it up and managed to turn the pieces around, brother?
Well, in the offseason, they lost Bryce Harper, probably the biggest player in franchise history.
Yes.
He signed with their rivals, the Phillies. And pretty much everybody wrote them off. You know, they lost their biggest player. They're not going to contend. They started off slow, 11-19, but they had some key acquisitions there in the season.
Definitely.
That really turned it around.
Definitely.
Such as Gerrit Cole, Asdrubal Cabrera as well.
Asdrubal Cabrera, which I've always thought of him as a great player and a great asset to any team. I will say this. The Yankees, and I'm not a Yankee fan. A lot of people know that I'm a Met fan and a Red Sox fan, but on the show, I'm unbiased. It is clear to note that it's not all about hitting. Like the Yankees, they went out all for hitting. They recruited hitting like a new Encarnacion, but at the end of the day, they fell a little short because of their pitching. On the other hand, the Nationals, when we looked at their rotation, we see notable guys like Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Anibal Sanchez, Corbin. They had it all. Nonetheless, to think about their hitting. But in my opinion, I believe that pitching wins ball games, and it showed now. Their pitching was outstanding. It kept them in tight games, and it helped them have that edge. And obviously, they have Juan Soto. Juan Soto is like God right now in Washington and in all sports, in all baseball. What do you think about their starting four?
Their starting four, on paper, well, not even on paper, just in general, probably the best starting four in the league, especially in the playoffs when people usually go in with 2, 3 top of the rotation guys and straight bullpen. But these guys have 4 solid, starters, which is very rare now in baseball to see in the postseason.
What's very rare is to see all of them excel the way they did. And when I say excel, I mean this. Anibal Sanchez in the NLCS pitched a one-hitter. And then to back him up was Max Scherzer with his own one-hitter. So these guys were very focused from the get. They had everything to lose and everything to win as well because they've never won a title as an organization. I am proud of them, like I said before, and I'm mostly proud of their first baseman, Zimmerman. Finally. Zimmerman, if you guys don't recall, Zimmerman was their first ever round pick. And it took him so many years to actually live out the dream and win a championship. And opposing that, we have Juan Soto, a 2-year rookie that has just turned 21 and has a ring on his finger. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of Zimmerman as a veteran and the importance of having new and fresh blood like Juan Soto, brother.
Well, if you see in recent history, most championship teams, since I'd say 2014, had that mix of veteran leadership and young, fresh talent. When you mix those two together, that's a recipe of success right there. And to have somebody like Ryan Zimmerman take somebody like Juan Soto under the wing,
right,
and see like this is how it is, this is how we do things here, you see what happens.
What is the difference, you think, between other teams, and I will put my input on this as well, but I want to hear what Darrell has to say. Other teams have a mixture of veterans and rookie players, but when we talk about Juan Soto, what do you think is the difference between him and all the other young stars that are arising in the game? I would think is his confidence as a 21-year-old.
For somebody to be in that situation at such a young age, so early on in his career, even Alex Rodriguez said in 2009, he was well beyond a veteran at that point. He said he was nervous to play in the World Series.
Right.
And then you got this guy, Juan Soto, calm, cool, collected, just delivering night after night.
Let's take a little recap as to how big Juan Soto has been for the Nationals. First and foremost, Bryce Harper, I love you as a player. I hope you one day see this. Why you made that move, I don't know. You would have had a ring on your finger. But it goes to show that the Washington Nationals were firm with their decision coming into spring training, offering Bryce Harper $300 million, which I thought was a great deal for him to stay at home, to stay with the team that gave him $10 million as a signing bonus. Like, come on. But they were firm with their decision. They had their thoughts as to, if we don't get Bryce Harper, we have Juan Soto, then we have Robles. But Juan Soto lived up to his name and lived up to many names that, many players, many great players like Alex Rodriguez or great hitters didn't even amount to half of the things that Juan Soto did in this postseason. And the first notable thing to talk about is his NLDS performance against the Milwaukee Brewers. Walk me through that at bat that took him the extra mile in beating the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember that?
Yeah. So we're down 2-0. 2-0. It's the bottom of the 8th, I believe. They've had Woodruff go 6 scoreless without the Nationals doing absolutely nothing. Then the bullpen kind of came in for that team from Milwaukee, and they walked Rendon, walked Michael Taylor, who pinched it. You had those 2 guys on bases, guys who could run.
Correct.
Then you got young Juan Soto come in there. It's a really big situation, especially
big spot.
Gets in there. He does his thing. He taunts the pitcher, takes a couple pitches, finds his pitch, and singles to right field.
That single to right field ended up being the game-winning hit. That young right fielder bobbled the ball, giving the runner the lead to go all around to home and scoring. And that's how the momentum was built for the Washington Nationals throughout the postseason. After that, they took it on. They took on any contender and literally just won. The Nationals, it's very nice to note this. The Nationals were down in 5 situations, 5 games. They were down to the elimination game 5 times. And they prevailed, and they just stuck out at bat for at bat, pitch by pitch, and were able to win and beat these top contending teams. This goes to show that even if a team passes on to the playoffs via wild card contention, they are not to be taken lightly, because the wild card team, the Nationals, prevailed as champions. Not everybody would think that the Nationals would get there. I myself would never think that the Nationals would get there because of the other teams that were in the postseason. Now, if you think about the other side of the picture, in the American League, you see the Tampa Bay Rays. They made it far.
They made it very far.
They were a team that we didn't picture them to go as far as well, and they made it real far, contending with the Houston Astros. So we're starting to see that every team, no matter what their payroll is, no matter what players they have, they want to contend. It doesn't matter how underdog of a team they are. If they get the chance, they're going to compete.
And they can contend. It's all about stepping up in the situations. I mean, if you can provide for your team and deliver, you can go far. That's the World Series you win.
Now, going back to Juan Soto, because I got to keep on mentioning this guy's name. Juan Soto, they asked him in one of the interviews as to what had at the time has been his biggest highlight of the postseason. You know what he said? He said, honestly, taking Cole deep. And I found that to be very remarkable because at the time, Cole was 19-0. 19-0, going through the playoffs. Nobody was hitting the guy. It was like, if you put Cole on the mound, you were going to win automatically. Talk to me a little bit about Cole's performance in the playoffs, brother.
I mean, by far the best pitcher, second best pitcher maybe, the whole postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, 19-0. He hasn't lost since May before that game. I mean, to not lose for like 6-7 months worth of baseball, it's pretty impressive.
And let's analyze his deal with the Astros. First and foremost, he wasn't even supposed to go to the Astros. The Yankees were a top contender at some point in pursuing Cole, which this is where they went wrong. Instead of getting Edwin Encarnacion, and I love Edwin Encarnacion as a player, as a hitter, as a Dominican player that you are. I love you, man. You're one of the greatest. But we must say this, that the Yankees didn't need extra hitting. What they needed was a pitcher. They failed in getting Cole, and they also failed in getting Greinke. Greinke was after Cole.
Mm-hmm.
So GMs of teams have to start taking into account that pitching wins ball games. I don't care if you have a stacked lineup like as the Yankees did, as the Houston Astros did. At the end of the day, pitching wins ball games. And yes, one person might question, but if pitching wins ball games, how come the Astros didn't win? Correct. The Astros had Gerrit Cole, Justin Verlander, Greinke. By all means, they should have won, right? But we have to take into consideration what went down and what managerial decisions were made that did not favor the team. And when I say this, I mean Will Harris. Putting Will Harris in the 8th inning in the last game of the World Series, having Cole warming up. What do you think about that?
I won't say it's a good decision. It's not a bad one. But, I mean, you do have probably the best baseball pitcher this year warming up for you in the 8th, ready to go.
Right.
And he said before the game, if I get that call, I'm going for it. Yeah, I'm going for it, ready to go. And he didn't get it and see what happens. They refer to that situation as the Pete Carroll situation, where he should have ran the ball instead of throwing it in that Super Bowl.
Oh, yes, definitely. What's it called? Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. You have the best running back in the league.
You have the best, now I'm getting a little bit mad. Props to the Nationals. I wanted either team to win because, yes, I did say I'm unbiased. I hate the Yankees. I don't want the Yankees to win. But anyways, that's another story. You have the best pitcher in the world, even though he had come out of 3 days rest, warming up, and I would put my money on the line that if Cole were to pitch the 8th and the 9th, another story would have been another story. The Houston Astros would have won the World Series and they would have prevailed their title as great contenders that they are, but that didn't happen. Another thing, going back to managerial decisions, there was a game where the Yankees put Brett Gardner as a third hitter in their
multiple games, which I question. Trust me, I don't know what was going on with that right there.
How do you put a 1 hitter or a 9 hitter in the 3-hole in a situation like this when it's winner take all or loser go home? My respects to Brett Gardner. You're a great player. You have been one of the best Yankee players I've ever seen in my life. But even you know, sir, you're not a third hitter. You have Gleyber Torres there. You have Gary Sanchez. You have DJ LeMahieu. You're going to put Gardner third? Sometimes it makes me believe that the game is somewhat rigged. What are your thoughts?
I won't say rigged. I say it's too much based on analytics. I don't think, at least in that organization, everything comes down to a manager. Manager makes the lineup. He makes I don't think in that particular case he had control over that.
Right.
Brett Gardner hitting third made absolutely no sense. In purpose of every time he came up, he had guys on base and couldn't deliver. Honestly, I would like to see him in probably like a 9-hole.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe leading off, LeMahieu 2, Aaron Judge 3, and so on.
You see, that's why I call him the guru, because he just gave you a 1 through 3 that would work. Said number 1,
Gardner.
Number 2,
LeMahieu.
Number 3,
Aaron Judge.
How are you going to get beat with those 3 on base?
Even if one of them fails, you have 3, 4 other guys.
And you have Gleyber Torres
coming up too.
I remember there was a key situation where, I was looking at the Yankees lineup against the Astros, and I see Gardner hitting third, and I was like, okay, they're really losing it right now. Gardner had a situation where he had runners on first and second with nobody out, and they were playing the shift on Gardner. I told my brother at the time, he was watching the game with me, Gardner should bunt, Gardner should bunt, Gardner should bunt. Him and other people told me, oh no, why would you put a third hitter to bunt? This is what I said. Number 1, Gardner's not a third hitter. Number 2, if you have runners on first and second, nobody out, and they're playing the shift, it's like they're giving it to you.
That whole left side's open.
Playoffs is about putting pressure on the other team. If you would have bunted there, caused some pressure, maybe something else would have happened. But Yankees and other teams as well, Red Sox, you didn't even make it to the playoffs. You have to make the right managerial decisions to favor the team.
And the obvious ones too.
Because
I'm pretty sure that there was some times where even people at home kind of
questioned it.
Yeah, they question it. They see the obvious calls, the obvious decisions you can make in those situations.
Davey Martinez, the manager of the Washington Nationals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy was quiet about his game, played small ball, had Justin Turner stealing bases. You understand what I'm saying? They were looking at every avenue, every aspect of the game, trying to control the controllables, trying to make the routine plays routine, not overthrow, not overdo. Look what happened. World Series champions.
And that 1-2 combo of Trey Turner and Adam Eaton at the top of that lineup.
Woo! Adam Eaton.
He stepped up big time.
But you were telling me something before the show, which is something that is remarkable. Let's talk about Howie Kendrick's performance throughout the whole playoffs.
So that's a long time veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I think he came up in 2005, 2004 with LA. He's been up and down.
Experienced player.
Yeah, very experienced and proven player as well. He stepped up big time. I think this was his opportunity. He's seen that this is the part of my career where I make a name for myself.
He stepped up in 2 occasions. What were those 2 occasions?
For the NLCS, he had that big home run.
The freaking Grand Slam.
The Grand Slam. That turned the series around. And also in the World Series, probably the biggest stage of them all, he stepped up again with another home run, big home run.
And that home run, I was watching the game, I was watching everything. But that home run, it came in the right moment.
The perfect moment, honestly.
The perfect moment. Like, people thought, okay, 3-1. Greinke had pitched a great game, left the game 3-1 in the 7th. Okay, the Astros have it down pat. Here comes Will Harris, as I told you, with Cole getting ready. They put Will Harris in. He lays one up to get tater-totted. And Howie Kendrick literally hit one down the right field line. And it hit the pole, man. I can just remember George Springer's face. Like, is this real right now? Are you serious? And that was the end of it all. That's it. Crazy. Now, you had shown me, and I will try to put the video up later on in the show. You had shown me a little clip of the aftermath effects of Cole, knowing that the World Series was over. The Houston Astros lost. Some of his words when he was getting interviewed or trying to get interviewed, what was he saying?
Well, he was visibly upset, and it's understanding too. I don't like to lose. I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. But he was packing up his locker. He was wearing his brand new Scott Boras hat.
Not even the Houston Astros hat. Moments after the Astros lost, the guy stripped down his uniform, wasn't wearing the hat, was in the clubhouse,
packing up his locker, and then he was approached, asking for an interview, and he said that he is no longer an employee of the Houston Astros, and he really shouldn't be able to he shouldn't have to do interviews.
But as the nice guy that he is, he came through with the interview, very nice, but he left a lot of doubts. Like he said, like Darryl said, wearing the Scott Boras Corporation hat before even airing the interview, saying that he was not even an employee of the team anymore. Quote unquote, I don't like to make assumptions because I like to talk about facts. But in other words, he's saying, I might be leaving this team.
Yeah, I'm done.
I have to do it? What you do? I mean, I'm not employed. I'm not employed. As an affiliate of myself, then.
Did you expect to get in the game today?
If we were winning, yes.
What contenders out there do you think will be a good fit for Cole if it's not the Astros?
Basically, any team that can contend would be perfect for him. But I think teams that have the biggest chance would be the Yankees. I think they have the highest percentage of, signing him. Also, a couple of LA teams, the Angels, they're an up-and-coming team with a new manager.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest one in the West would be the Dodgers, obviously.
Why do you say the Yankees and the Dodgers? Because I believe the same thing.
The Dodgers, they're known for going after big free agents, making trades to make sure they still contend. I mean, they're 7-time divisional champions, and they've been to the playoffs for the last 7 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
They were left a little bit sour, getting eliminated very early on in the playoffs. And I think that's a team that's going to rebound, they're going to recollect, and they're going to go after some big names in the offseason.
Right.
But then the Yankees, they're looking for that starting pitching. And I think this postseason proved that it's time to pull the trigger. Let's get a guy. Let's get that number one.
And both of those teams that you mentioned, if you notice, they have money to spend. A lot of it. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. And if you don't know, now you know, the offseason has already started, and major teams like the Phillies, the Padres have made changes, and the Mets have made some changes. The Phillies acquiring Joe Girardi. Yes, Joe Girardi as their manager, making pushes towards contention in 2020. I still feel that they're still missing some pieces there. Joe Girardi is a winning manager, but I feel that they have to adjust their pitching some way, somehow. They have the hitting. Now, when we talk about the Mets, yes, the Mets. It's been a while since they won, since 2015 that they made it to the World Series. In my opinion, after analyzing the deal and what they just did, I feel that Carlos Beltran, the new manager of the Mets, is going to bring positivity and is going to change that culture from 0 to 360 all around. What do you think about the Mets and their managerial decision?
Well, Carlos Beltran, first of all, probably one of the better outfielders of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
He played 20 years. He played 15 with the Mets. I believe so, 14, 13 with the Mets. He's well known in baseball throughout the whole baseball community, and all players, they know him as kind of like a guru, somebody who knows what they're talking about, somebody who knows baseball in and out.
Correct.
Everybody leans towards him, even as a player. You know, the guys came up, the younger guys, you know, can you give me some advice? Can you know, what am I doing wrong? He was the guy to go to, and I think that, I think it was time for him to become a manager. I could see that. I was a little bit, you know, cautious around him going to the Mets, because I feel like the Mets are, you know, they're on the brink of a postseason, like having a big postseason. They should make the playoffs. And their best contender was Girardi. I think that should have been,
I thought so too, to be honest.
I think that should have been a sealed deal, but Carlos Beltran's are probably the next best.
When it comes to Carlos Beltran, remember this, guys. Carlos Beltran played for Girardi. So now they're facing each other in the NL East.